Ahaya in the name of Yeshaya. We thank you all for tuning in to our lessons for the Sabbath. We're going to try to make this efficient and some key information in which everyone could grow and find out what's going on in the world according to prophecy. All right. First and foremost, a lot of you brothers and sisters out there might have been, you're probably looking at the news, especially within the United States. And there's a lot of distractive news going on in which you really don't understand what's happening. And they are diverting us away from Bible prophecy. Okay, especially if you are in the Western world. It's total distraction. A few weeks ago, we went over the key details concerning the false flag they had in Boston and distracted everyone from laws that was passed within the United States that leads to martial law. And also there was a lot of other things going on in the United States, like Israel was on their way into Syria to deal with Syria. Syria is being bombed as we speak. And this week, everyone within the United States is now, the news media have focused their attention on Charles Ramsey and some girl that was so-called kidnapped, living in someone's house and having children with this guy and everything. And all of a sudden, she's kidnapped and she was found. That's total distraction. Even them making videos with this guy, music videos and all that. Total distraction. All right? Also, they had to get a new guy, a new face, and we were discussing this, a new face for the YouTube community to laugh at concerning our people. Now that Antoine Dotson have found the knowledge of the truth, and he have over 500,000 subscribers and people linking into him, over 500,000 people linking into him, dealing with this confusion that he was dealing with before he found the truth.
I'm not saying that, oh, I don't have the memories of my past, you know what I'm saying? Because I do, and I see it every day in my mind. But I'm trying to move away from that and become a better person, that's all.
So now I understand that you were reading the Bible and that you were now identifying as a Hebrew Israelite. Is that true?
Exactly.
Is that mutually exclusive with being gay?
Actually, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's just that the law, it's just following the laws and the commandments. And that's for directly the chosen Hebrew Israelites, the 12 lost sheep, the 12 tribes of the lost sheep. It's just certain things in this world that true Israel just cannot do. And I understand that. I have a position.
So now that they cannot use him as a way of degrading society, and his influence is going to make many people examine themselves and come to the truth. Now that that have happened, they have gotten a new guy that they just got out of nowhere, Charles Ramsey, and blowing him up now to move him to the forefront, and also in an effort to distract the population from the wars that's going on within the world. So today, we're going to try to focus on what prophecies that are going down right now while they're distracting the world through entertainment. All right? And the key thing that I wanted to speak of in prophecy is Syria. What is the importance of Syria according to the Bible prophecies now that we're here? And what's next? As you know, for years we've been teaching, don't pay attention to North Korea. Don't pay attention to North Korea, Russia, or any of the proxies that are being used through the Western world. To really focus on the prophecies concerning Iran. You understand? For years, I've been saying the same thing, not because it's me, because this is what the Bible tells us to focus on. Iran is the war that will change everything in this earth. That's going to be the prophecy that changed everything from that day going forward. And Syria is leading up to the war against Iran. So of course they will put out distractions and have everyone looking at something different, because who in the world, American citizens or other citizens otherwise, would agree to another unjust war and killing people? But some might ask, well, what do the Most High have to do this? Why would he allow this to happen to Syria? What does this all mean? Well, first of all, let me go into the Apocrypha. The King James Version Apocrypha. All right? I also have an annotated Apocrypha, which breaks down the Apocrypha in detail, and have other scriptures that wasn't added, that wasn't included in the regular King James Apocrypha. But going directly to prophecy, where we're standing right now, what does this mean? This war with Syria. Now, everyone would like to point to Israel, which you can point to because they're behind every war in the earth. And they're doing it for an entirely different reason, but nonetheless, it's the Most High's prophecies being fulfilled. The Zionists are doing it for imperialistic reasons. When you call ethnic cleansing and whatever they're dealing with, and they're worshipped under Satan. See, you understand? So what they're trying to do is ethnic cleansing and make the world for themselves. That's their ideologies, believing that Satan, their Lord, will one day exalt them as God's chosen people. But they don't realize they're being utilized too. Because it's not going to work the way they're seeing it, because the Most High have laid a wound under them. Let's get that out of the book of Obadiah. And I'm going to show you the wound and why the Zionists must war against every other country within the earth. So we're going strictly into Bible prophecy outside of the distractions. Let's go with the first verse.
Verse 1. The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord power, concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle.
And that ambassador is coming from Iran. And in past prophecies, we were looking at Egypt, but this is deeper than Egypt. Because why? The last impending war that would rise up against Edom would be Persia or Iran today. And you notice all in the news when they talk about Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in Iran, they say that Iran is claiming to do things against Israel. Well, it's deeper than Israel. It's the prophecy between Edom and the Persians. The impending war that will lead to the release of God's people throughout the four corners of the earth. That's what's really going on outside of the imperialistic Zionist agenda of the Jewish people. We know they want ethnic cleansing. We know that they are at war with everyone, but it's deeper than them just fighting people for imperialistic reasons. Why? They must do this for self-preservation. They must take down other countries to survive. It's going to show you that. Read the 7th verse.
Verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border.
That means all the people whom the UN and the Edomites were in confederate with or in bed with have brought them to the border of war. Because at one time they were all together against us. You understand? That's why they was in confederate together. In Psalms 83, it tells you that all nations came together to keep us from ever knowing that we were the children of Israel. You understand? But once they accomplished that, then it became a war on who would rule in the earth. And Edom double-crossed all the nations that was in confederate with them against us. They're getting all the spoils, opposed to all the other nations who have helped enslave us. They're getting all the credit, all the power, all the imperialistic spoils that come with being the head of the confederate. So now all the nations who were in agreement with them are now coming against them. We put this out last year that in the UN, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad actually started speaking of the enslavement of black people and the slavery that was going on all over the earth when other nations would stay mum concerning that topic for years. Why are they speaking about it now? Because it's really about us. All the nations have agreed to stay on top. And in order to be on top, they would have to agree to fight against God's people. But once we all were subdued, then it was a war amongst them of who will actually rule these people. So then you have the Jewish people going into the Middle East in 1948, claiming that they're fulfilling the prophecies of Israel, but not at all. They were there as a presence because they're Edom, Jacob's brother, staking claim to a promise that don't belong to them. And when they got there, they began to war against the other nations because these nations have the knowledge of who they are. They knew that the Jewish people had no right to the land. So of course, you would have continual perpetual war after war against these people. So in self-preservation, they must deal with ethnic cleansing and the self-preservation of their hierarchy. And that's what these wars are about. On another level, now at the end of these wars, we are free. Now listen to this clearly. Because of the immorality throughout the four corners of the earth, the Most High is also using these wars as an opportunity for everyone to choose the right side of righteousness and not fall into immorality. You do evil, break God's law, and those that control the earth will be able to utilize you and destroy you in this impending battle. You understand? So yes, the Most High allowing this to happen, but only those that fall into immorality will fall with the heads of Edom. And so they have Hollywood to teach you death, killing, immorality, homosexuality, incest, bestiality, destruction, killing, murder, on and on and on. They teach this within society so that they can recruit out of the population people into their war. You understand? Because those that are following the Most High have a hedge on them, a protection that will not allow them to fall, even through all these perils. So you must volunteer yourself into their satanic army. Now, why is it Syria now? Well, Syria was once in agreement with Israel against us too. So now it's their time. Now it's their time. So they're going to go through the same downfall. They're going to go through the same downfall as Libya. They're going to go through the same downfall as these other countries. They're going to go through it. They're going to fall. But in the midst of this fall, Iran is sending thousands of troops over into Syria. Why? Because there's a pipeline that's going through the whole area into Afghanistan. And that's their life source. So that's going to lead to the last war of this earth. Before everything is blacked out. Before everything changed all at once. This is what's going on leading into World War III. Everything is going to change in this earth when Iran begin this war. When they step into this war after Syria is taken down. Syria will never be the same after this. But they were in league with the nations against us. Let's get that first. Let's go ahead and get Psalms 83. And then we go into 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, and read about the destruction of Syria. Now, mind you, all these lands at one time belonged to us. Parts of Damascus belongs to us. Israel was ours. All these nations were in agreement to destroy us. Now, you must pay the piper. What goes around comes around. You had to know at one point these same rogue nations who was in confederate against us, to fight against us, would turn on you. Why? If they would destroy, demoralize, and kill God's people, what do they care about another country in confederate with them? If Esau would do this to his own brother, you know he don't care about you. Think about it. Jacob and Esau were brothers. So if Esau did all this to his own brother, know that they will totally go to war with everyone after their brother was subdued. Common sense would have told you that. And another thing, you nations thought that we would never wake up too. You thought that we would stay on the bottom forever. But because we are awakened and praying to our God against your idols and against your powers, the Most High is now beginning to answer our prayers. And he's going to tear you down bit by bit from foundation. And all your idols will crumble. That's what this is all about. You understand? The Most High have heard the cry of the meek, those that have been enslaved. No one have led us out of our prison. No one have beckoned to our call. But the Most High heard us and gave us the truth, and have now breaking us away from the ideology of our masters. We've been praying to the Most High, and now comes war. And some people ask, well, what are we going to do when this happens? What we do is what we're going to do, and all in confusion. Listen, our God have this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to pray to our God. We're going to keep his commandments, and he will lead us. That's what we'll do. Because if we are on the right side of justice when it comes to the Most High, none of these perils will befall us. And that's the key thing. That's the key thing, to stay in the grace and under the hedge of the Most High, because all hell is about to break loose. All hell is about to break loose. Let's read Psalms 83.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
This is King David praying, asking the Most High to hear his cry from the throne, to war against all these nations who secretly come together to fight against his people. Read.
Verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
All the enemies are making a tumult or an uprising. They're talking. They're coming together. But for what reason? For world peace? To heal the earth? To make this a better place like they're claiming? No. They're not doing none of those things. They're coming together and are speaking against us. Speaking against God's people. And that's why David had to pray to the Most High, because he understood these enemies were not for his turn. So we understand that the powers that be in the governments of this earth are not for the embetterment of the people. Look at the end result. Look at our people starving all over the earth. Look at our people suffering all over the earth. This must be a malicious plan of government against these people. Read.
Verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
They all come together.
And they that hate thee have lifted up their head.
And these nations that hate the Most High lifted up their head. Now you know why they hate the Most High? Because the Most High chose a people. So now they have turned to idols and would rather worship a rock or a statue of liberty or any other idol they have in this earth than acknowledge that the God of all gods is the higher. They have placed idols instead of recognizing the God that made them. So they show straight hatred and defiance against the Most High every time they erect another idol. So because they hate our God, they hate us. And because they hate our God, they're making laws, and they are talking in their little meetings against us. That's your eugenics program. Read.
Verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Against the children of Israel.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And consulted against thy hidden ones. When we went into slavery, when the North American Indians were enslaved, when the people in Hawaii were enslaved, when the people were in the Philippines were taken down, when the Han dynasty in China, which were part of Samaria, when they were taken down, all the nations took hold of governments to make sure that these people would stay enslaved, to make sure God's people would never rise again. So when you people out there are speaking that race don't matter and that everything is the same, you are ignorant of history. You are ignorant of biblical history. It have always been about nations and God's chosen people. Read.
Verse 4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
All you nations have came together and say, well, let's not tell these people that they are God's chosen people. Let's make them or trick them into following our ideology and our history and our idols, and make the children of Israel bow to our gods. That's why you see our people trying to be Buddhist, Catholic, Muslim, and all this other religious mess connected to idols. That's why. See that? They came together and said, we can control them if, while they're in slavery, separate them from their God. Let's kill their aged men, and let's teach the women and children in fear to follow our God. And through time, generation from generation, eventually they'll believe that the culture we taught them belongs to them. This is how they systematically destroyed us. And I'm going to tell you, that's why they killed that brother Malcolm Shabazz, Malcolm X's grandson, because he had 2 books coming out. Now these books he had coming out was kind of deep, because they were it was really inside information the brother had that could free us from the slave mentality within the world. And he did it on a way in which people in the world could understand it. Even though the things that he was speaking of were biblical principles, it was common sense ways of detaching yourself from your masters. They got him out of here. Why? You can't send your stuff to publishers to be published. Who you think own the publishing houses? Edom. The Jewish people own all the publishing houses. So he put out information, secret information, about COINTELPRO and all that thing that was working against his father, that would have actually exposed Farrakhan too. It was going to expose the truth of how all these black leaders we think are leaders, every last one of them are set up. All of them are established under government and COINTELPRO. And he was going to put out a book with all this information. Now look, you can't publish the information and put it out there in a publishing house like that. Personal information, what's going on in the earth. Only thing you could do is tell the truth and have the people come to the right side of the Most High through truth. He thought he can trust the publishers. Next thing you know, the FBI met him. The FBI met him. Yes, the Federal Bureau of Investigations. And they moved him away from his family. And through time, the story went away with this Boston bombing and all this other stuff. And they killed the brother because the brother had key information. You understand? So I wanted to put that out there. That they know our people are waking up. We are the key cog in this whole machine. Everything you see is because of us. All this warfare and all that is because now God's people are waking up. And they can't put the cat back in the bag. They can't shut this thing down. That's why they I don't want to go too far off track, but that's why they set up the National Defense Authorization Act. Because now it's time to just start destroying, coming against the prophets, coming against the teachers, coming against the voices. That's what time we're in. But listen to this confederation, getting back to the topic here. Read.
Psalms 83:4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
This is what all nations agreed to. They agreed to cut us off from being a nation. That means instead of us cleaving to our people and our culture and the understanding that God gave us, we would embrace a new culture that don't belong to our forefathers. We would embrace a new ideology and a new level of education that have nothing to do with our God. And as a matter of fact, that education would have us question whether or not our history is correct. It would make us question whether or not our Bible is the true book. That was the whole point. Their whole point was to rip us away from the Bible and make us believe that we were some other people and make us believe that the Bible wasn't true. This was a purpose malicious act so that they could control us. Read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
They didn't want Israel to ever figure out. They never wanted us to know we was Israel. So they taught us we were Ham in your Christian churches. and put up your preachers eating pork and all this mess to teach us that we're Ham. Yeah, they're Ham. See that? Then they started telling people it doesn't matter who you are because all people are the same. Lying. It does matter who you are. It does matter. The Bible is speaking of the fall and the rise of a people. They have nothing to do with just individual people and individual efforts of what you would do as an individual. We fell as a nation. There was righteous people amongst us, but we still fell as a nation. So it's deeper than just individuals. Listen clearly. Go ahead.
Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
All these nations are in it together. They were in it together before. So as long as they could benefit from our fall, they kept their mouth shut. They didn't say anything, knowing who we were. Read.
They are confederate against thee.
And they are confederate against the Most High. Read.
Verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom.
Now it's naming them one by one, showing you the head of Edom is over them all. And I know in Christian church and other places they try to tell you Edom is done away with. Don't believe it. 2 Ezra 6 and 9 tell you Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, showing you that Edom would be ruling at the very end. Okay? Edom is operating. A matter of fact, even through their own history, and in the Jewish encyclopedia, it tells you Edom is Rome. Wake up. They're not Japheth. They're not all these other people you claim it. Edom is the head of the Confederate. Just like they're the head of the UN. So their chief job is to make sure God's people, the same people, the poor people living in the ghettos, the same people living in the slums, that they systematically put on crack and separated families and killed them and push alcohol on them and push all type of depression on these people. These same people, they had a focus on to keep them from not becoming a nation. They needed to keep them from ever finding out that they were actually the children of God. To take away our greatest weapon. If we believe that the Most High is not our God, and if we start believing that, that the Most High don't exist, that's the greatest weapon the nations can use to keep us enslaved. See? So this is what the nations did. Read.
Verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom.
Edom chief numero uno.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the Ishmaelites. Next.
Of Moab.
Now you have Ishmael, which is the Arabs, which is what you would call today the Muslim Brotherhood. The Saudis, who are working with the Western world, with these fake terrorist activities and all this propaganda they're putting before the news. But they're working to suppress, to make sure we never wake up as a people. To see, they're watching us closely. Because our awakening is also prophecy that tells them how much time they have left. Read.
Of Moab.
Moab.
And the Hagarites.
Now, when you look at Moab and Ammon, these are people or Middle Easterns that surrounds the border of Israel. When you look at the biblical maps, Moab and Ammon were on the borders of Israel. And at certain points, they would cut us off so that we couldn't escape when the Edomites were trying to destroy us. So they was working with the nations too. And these would be your modern day Palestinians, your modern day Jordanians. That's who they are today. They're in the Middle East. They were never displaced any other place. Get yourself a biblical map and look where Moab and Ammon is. That's where they are today. So now the Most High is showing us in the Bible all the nations that were confederate against Israel, or God's people, not the Jewish people today. They're not Israel at all. They don't even believe in the Bible. They know the Bible is not theirs. They know that they're not the children of Israel. Okay? So why is this important now? Under any other nation. Show me 1 million Iranians going into captivity under any other nation. Show me 1 million white people going into captivity under another nation. So that's a bold-faced lie. Okay? That's a bold-faced lie saying, well, all people serve people. No. It's one thing to have indentured servitude, which is the equivalent of you actually having employment today. You're being paid for employment. That's one thing. But forced servitude of a nation have not happened to any other nation but us, starting in Egypt. Okay? So they try to downplay our captivity by claiming that, well, everyone enslaves everybody in different cultures. That's a bold-faced lie. It was always against us. Why? They was upset. They was mad because we didn't acknowledge their rocks and their idols, their metals they were worshiping as gods, and that we would tell them about the true God and let them know what they were doing immoral in the earth. And our existence was a plague to theirs. And they could not beat us at that time because we were with our God. They could not physically fight us, and they could not spiritually take us down because we were with the God of all gods at one time until we fell, until we were tricked by the nations and began to follow their ways. So the Most High said in Deuteronomy 32, if you want to put up a no God for me, I'm going to put up a no people for you. If you want to follow these people, you will serve these people. And that's why we built all the empires you see in the earth today. That's the reason. We turned our back on our God, and therefore he had to send Christ to give us a new way back to him. A new path. Read. So all nations were confederate. So now, Galatians 6 and 7, get that real quick.
Galatians chapter 6, verse 7.
Go ahead.
Be not deceived, the Most High is not mocked.
The Most High is not mocked.
For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
What goes around comes around. So now all the nations that were confederate against Israel, now it's your turn. And I know it's unjust. You can see it on all these shows. They claim it, well, what America is doing is wrong. What Israel is doing wrong. They're bombing them. You know what? They are wrong. But guess what? What did you expect? Where was the cry when our people were being enslaved? Where was the cry when we were being put on ships and was taught that we were someone else? They set up a slave pagan religion that would go from generation to generation that separated us from our God and turned us into pagans. Where were all the nations then? You all knew who we were. Where was your outcry? Where was your public outcry against injustice? But now everyone got a page, and everyone got a YouTube page, and everyone got this, that, and the other. And you got the Syrian girls saying, okay, this is unjust, this is not right. Where were you when they were doing this to us? So now it's coming. And what you're seeing ultimately is the hand of the Most High. He's allowing the Zionists and all that to do these things. But then afterwards, he's going to crush them too. But not before it comes to you. And that's what's going on with the Palestinians right now. They didn't protect us when the Romans came against us. They shut off the border so that we wouldn't escape. So now they are trapped in a corner someplace with no news, and they can't escape. The trucks are just rolling over their houses and everything, and there's no cameras there. Why? No one is saying anything. Why? Because you didn't say anything when they were doing it to us. See? Now everybody's saying, what's going on with the Palestinians? Peace for the Palestinians. When will there ever be peace for our people? How is it other people's injustices can be addressed on a regular basis, but yet no one will go back to our injustice? We're still suffering from the injustices that was done to us. And it seems like no one makes that a conversation. You don't just displace millions of people and destroy them all over the earth and not have a conversation concerning them. Where these people come from, what they really believe. But before they were enslaved, how can we make amends for the fall of these people? You don't have that conversation. So we're not on no campaign to save the Syrians. We're not on no campaign to save the Palestinians. We're not on the campaign for none of them. Why? because all of them got their place due to our downfall. Every last one of them. All of them were put in position as rulers of this earth and diplomats on the backs and blood and tears of the children of Israel. So here it comes. Bombs away. Here it comes. And you knew it was coming. How long do you think the Most High would just sit back and allow you nations to destroy his earth and to destroy his people? How long? You thought that, oh, because your forefathers did it. You thought, oh, I don't have nothing to do with that. That's my forefathers a long time ago. That's what you say. But let's see. Let's go to Isaiah 14 and 21. I know you say, I got friends that are black and Hispanic and all that, and that's good too. I got friends of all other nations. I have no issue with that. I got friends of all different nations, but that don't change prophecy. So your personal friendship don't change history. Let's read Isaiah 14 and 21.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 21.
And these were all the people that say, well, I didn't do it. Read.
Prepare slaughter for his children.
Read it again.
Prepare slaughter for his children.
Prepare slaughter for his children.
For the iniquity of their fathers.
For the sins of their fathers. Now, what does this mean? We're going to read more on that, but what does this mean? You've inherited the riches and power and rulership and country of your forefathers. Therefore, you also inherit your forefathers' debt. Okay? All this rulership and power you've received on this earth was because your forefathers destroyed us. You never came back and said, you know what? All this that I received is because these people fell. Let me make restitution so that this pain or this peril don't fall on us. That the curse of my fathers don't fall on us. None of you have done that. Now you see no evil, you hear no evil, and you say nothing. And say, well, I don't have nothing to do with what my forefathers do. No, you still got our wallets in your pocket. That's the whole deal. You don't steal someone else's identity and steal everyone's homeland and you have their wallet in your pocket and you give it to your child and the child says, well, I didn't do it, my father did it. Well, listen, your father's not here, but you still have my wallet. Okay? And if I'm not here, give the wallet to my son. Okay? So no man is without excuse. Some people think time excuses the past. It does not. Because everything comes around. Time does not excuse the past. Time can go by, but if there's a debt to pay, you must pay it. And if you die, your son must pay the debt. But eventually it's going to come around. And because all nations don't want to come together and have this same conversation about the children of Israel, the Most High is going to turn this whole earth upside down and allow you to destroy each other. It's going to come internal now. The same people you are confederate with, they're going to fight against you. It's an internal fight. It's going to continue until it erodes to the very core. And that's the only way God's people will ever become free in this earth. He must break all the powers of the kingdoms. And that's what we're seeing. So I'm not dealing with all these little distractions that's out there. I'm just sitting back, doing my studies, doing what we have to do. And my total focus have been for years on Iran. I know what's going to happen when they go to Iran. I know it's the game changer of the whole earth. It's the game changer of the whole earth. Let's finish reading what you got there. Prepare slaughter for his children.
For the iniquity of their fathers.
For the sins of their father.
That they do not rise.
That they do not rise.
Nor possess the land.
Nor possess the land.
Nor fill the face of the world with cities.
Or make new cities. See that? Now it's talking about not just Syria, but all those nations who was in confederate against our God and are against us. Okay? Now, the slickest one of all the ones that we've just mentioned is Edom. Because why? They're very meticulous, and they know how to compartmentalize and separate themselves from the evil on the surface, where no one can identify who's doing what. They're very good at that. Okay, well, listen, I'm not Roman. I'm not Edom. Oh, I'm Jewish. Okay, so tell me why you have Roman architect all through every country you've conquered. Where's your fringes and borders of blues and upholding the law every place you go if you're Jews? Okay, every place you go, you build Roman Colosseums for sport. Every place you go, you build temples with high columns to Rome and have Roman gods every place. We know who you are. You're Romans. You're Edom. We know who you are. And then when they tell everyone else, tell Christians that they follow in the Bible and follow in the Torah. But then when you get out of that Christian brainwashing and really talk to these people, none of them believe in the Bible. They all follow the Talmud and the Kabbalah. They're Kabbalists. They're sorcerers. They don't even believe in the Bible. And they infiltrate Christian churches by claiming that they are God's people and now that they are Messianic Jews, which is another trick they use to infiltrate. You have to realize these people that I'm talking about have no rules. They don't have rules. As long as they deceive, pillage, and destroy, that's their mission. There is no rule with them. Okay? So they're the highest that the Most High is going to bring down. And when they crumble, it's really over. So they think they're going to do this imperialistic taking from country to country and take down and build cities. The Most High is not going to let them. Christ is going to return before that. But before Christ's return, we're in for a serious dark day on this earth. Okay? The clouds are going to be turned dark. The moon is not going to give her light on certain times. When the nuclear missiles go off in this earth, our whole environment is going to change. It's going to change our whole environment all around the earth. Okay? And that's before Christ comes. And what we're saying is, this is the leading up to this particular prophecy. Dealing with Syria. That's why I'm not dealing with none of your distractions, because one day the television is going to stop. The internet is going to stop. The computer is going to stop. And they're never going to come on again. They're never coming on again. It's going to stop one day. It's going to be it. And the only one that's going to make it is those that are on the right side of righteousness. Finish reading.
Verse 22. For I will rise up against them, saith the Most High of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith the Most High. I will also make it a possession for the bittern in pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, saith the Lord of hosts.
And that lets us know that water is coming through Babylon. That's going to happen once the Madrid fault line is hit, and it's going to be in combination with the Medes striking Babylon. Revelation 16:9, where it breaks into three pieces. And the Most High will break the strength of Babylon. That's scripture. Also, the land of Israel, or Palestine today, what they call Palestine today, which was a criminal act of taking that particular land, that will be laid desolate with this impending war. And they're going to flee out of that land temporarily. I'm talking about the kings. And they will run into Chittim. They will go into Chittim for a particular amount of time before they go back into Europe. And that 6 million prophecy they was talking about, the 6 million Jews that happened in World War II, it wasn't in World War II. The 6 million was a prophecy of how many that will die in Palestine. They're sacrificing their own people. And then they will bring the imperialistic power back to Rome, under the Roman family. That's the real truth. And then after that, it's all hell on earth. Almost every family for themselves. every unit for themselves. You're going to go into a city, only be able to see 2 or 3 people at a time, if that. It tell you that in Esdras. And only that, and that's if you see them. It's the only working system in this earth is going to be these so-called demigods watching the whole earth from their perch. Think about it. What do you think they're going out in space for? Think about it. The book of Obadiah tell you, when they set their nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. That tells us that they are going to be having their nest or their habitation on the outside or in the upper atmosphere of the earth. That's the times we're coming in. Now, do we have a little time? Yes. But certain prophecies that happen is going to be a game changer in which it happens all at once. We do have some time. And we better thank the Most High and try to do as much as we can to get on the right side before we get there. Because there ain't going to be no time. It's going to be total chaos and confusion all at once. All right? But with this thing with Syria, you got to watch that clearly. Because that's going to lead to the last world war with Iran. And after that, there will be no more war. Until Christ comes to war against the world. Listen to this clearly. Let's go to Esdras real quick, the 16th chapter.
2nd Esdras chapter 16 verse 1. Woe be unto thee, Babylon, and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria.
Go ahead.
Gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair. Bewail your children and be sorry.
It says, cry for your children and be sorry. Read.
For your destruction is at hand.
For your destruction is at hand. Read.
Verse 3. A sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that he may drive them away? May any man drive away an hungry lion in the wood? Or may anyone quench the fire and stubble when it hath begun to burn?
Go ahead.
May one turn again the arrow that is shot of a strong archer.
Can you turn again the arrow that is shot from a strong archer? Now we know that those arrows it's speaking of is nuclear missiles. Read.
Verse 8. The mighty Lord sendeth the plagues, and who is he that can drive them away?
And who can drive them away? It's the Most High that put the mind in them to make the missiles. It's the Most High that worketh with the smith that bloweth the coals, to make an instrument for his will, for his destruction. And some people will ask, well, why would an all-loving God allow this destruction to happen? Okay, keep in mind that the Most High is everything, and love is one attribute of the Most High. And also keep in mind this: it's man's choice to defy him that leads to their destruction. He just put the spirit in them to create it. All right, so you can't blame the Most High for allowing these things to happen, because man have turned their way in error against him. And they have created their own destruction. So you still can't blame the Most High. As we get closer to the coming of our Lord Christ, Yeshua, as we get closer to his coming, is the world becoming better? Are they teaching our children to uphold righteousness? Are they teaching the people to stay away from sin, or are they promoting sin? Okay, so because of that, the Most High will eventually rain down fire like he did against Sodom and Gomorrah. Read.
Verse 9. A fire shall go forth from his wrath, and who is he that may quench it?
Go ahead.
He shall cast lightnings, and who shall not fear?
And who shall not fear? Read.
He shall thunder, and who shall not be afraid? The Lord shall threaten, and who shall not be utterly beaten to powder
It
at his
says,
presence.
read that part again.
The Lord shall threaten.
So I don't know what God they talking about in the Christian church, but the real God threatens. Okay, that's another thing. That's why a lot of people don't believe, because they in their mind they've been programmed to believe that the Most High is on the throne with flowers in his mouth or something, flowers in his teeth and all that. No. And he says, and for those who don't follow him, that they shall be utterly what? Beaten to powder. Beaten to powder. Right? Read.
Verse 11. The Lord shall threaten, and who shall not be utterly beaten to powder at his presence?
Go ahead.
The earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof. The sea ariseth up with waves from the deep.
That's what's coming. And that Madrid fault line throughout the earth, it cracked. The beginning crack went back to the original flood. See that? It went back to the original flood when the Most High cracked the earth and allowed the waters to come up from the... That's where the crack came from. That's where the fault line came from the beginning. The whole earth was affected due to the sins of man and the fallen angels. And that whole line connects directly to where? The Great Pyramid. That whole line, that crack, goes right around the earth to the Great Pyramid. Why? Because that's the gate of hell. That's the place where the angels were placed when they came and sinned against the Most High in the earth and taught mankind all types of evil and wickedness. Okay? So that's where the crack came from. And eventually, when the bombs hit, what's going to happen? Don't forget, there's all types of butane gas and all that all up under the waters in different areas that's waiting to explode. So when the bombs hit, it's going to crack the earth on its fault. And at that time forward, the skies are going to turn black. It's going to be totally something out of sci-fi someplace. And right after that, there's going to be serious attacks of specters and chittims, because demons will be released from hell. This is what's really going to happen on earth. And these are the events that's going to eventually lead Israel and those that are in certain areas going to move our people into the wilderness for refuge. Babylon will be utterly wasted. Nothing left. Finish reading.
Verse 12. The earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof. The sea ariseth up with waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled. And the fish thereof also before the Lord, and before the glory of his power. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss.
And shall not miss. The arrows that are shot shall not miss. Verse?
This is the end of verse 13.
Go ahead.
When they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. Verse 14. Behold, the plagues are sent, and shall not return again, until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out, till it consume the foundation of the earth.
So the foundations of the earth will be consumed. Read.
Verse 16. Like as an arrow which is shot out of a mighty archer returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again.
Go ahead.
Woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment.
Read it again.
Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment.
They're sent as scourges for amendment. Remember when we said you reap what you sow? So this is how the Most High make amends to the earth for ignoring him, for disrespecting him, for destroying God's people. And not only that, it's not just the other nations. When our people fall into that same mindset, we become worse than the Gentiles. We teach them their wickedness. Like look at just the sodomite agenda. Look at how our people that deal with that lifestyle, and how flamboyant and outspoken, and how we become the poster boy for some evil that we once wasn't affiliated with. And they glorify us as if we're the ones that's perpetuating this sodomite homosexual agenda within the earth. We teach the wicked they're wicked. No one operate like us. A man dressed up and he's sitting there looking like a woman and all that. And then we start snapping our fingers and all this mess. No other nations be operating like this. And they've always been sodomites. The Romans and Greeks have always been sodomites. Even their warriors dealt with men and all that. But we teach the Gentiles, we teach the other nations wickedness. See? So the Most High is definitely going to deal, he says, of course he's going to deal with the nations, but his judgment will start at his sanctuary. That's why the Bible calls it Jacob's trouble. Because we went to the other side and forgot our God, the majority of us, a lot of us, are going to be destroyed in this. Read.
2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 20.
Go ahead.
But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness.
Look at that. Right, the next verse. The Most High is cracking up the earth. You see all these things coming. Y'all see it coming. But yet, everyone is partying like it's 1999. Let me tell you, I done had people tell me in no uncertain terms that don't worry about it. They don't know. I have people say, well, I don't know if it's going to happen because stuff is still going on in the earth. You still got football. You still got movies that's going to come out years from now. And it seems like that's the whole point. Don't forget, Hollywood is named after a druid stick. Hollywood was the wand of the sorcerers, of the magicians. So of course they're going to move their Hollywood magic wand and make you believe everything is normal. That's part of the deception. If you think you have time, then you don't have to repent today. That's just part of your ideology. And that's why some people always ask, well, how much time do you think that we have before this happens or before that happens? Why do you think they ask those questions? You understand? Exactly. They still feel that there's some things they want to do instead of operating today like the world is going to end tomorrow. Not because don't forget, even though this thing may take a few years, the Most High can call any of us at any second. You still might not have that much time. And see, that's the mindset the Most High need us in. That's the mindset we must be in concerning Him. Not, well, how long based on this is going to happen? No. What happens if you call before that? Because these prophecies are going down. We're dropping everything that's going to happen. If it be the Lord's will, we will prophesy it up until the time that all mouths are shut, because that time is coming too. Where there's going to be a famine in the land, and the famine is going to be that you cannot get the word of the Most High. It's coming. where the knowledge is going to have to go back under the catacombs, where we're actually teaching the information to each other. And a lot of us, because of the technology, have went away from the books, in which we don't even have physical record of information anymore. And they're going to just, when these computers go, they're just going to go. It's going to come a time where you're not going to be able to plug your laptop in. Okay? And what happens to the information? What happens to the truth? We become so dependent on our palm pads and all these other things we have there. What happens when the Most High shut down all this technology, and that you have depended so much on technology that there's no record anywhere? That time is coming too. And I'm putting this out there. Get you a book and preserve it. Because believe it or not, the word is also going to be a path that's going to guide us when everything shuts down. And I think that's what Hollywood did with that movie, The Book of Eli. See, in their own thwarted way, part of their agreement in being able to convince the people or to lure people on their side, they got to put out the truth so that they can at least say, well, listen, I told them, and they made a choice to choose unrighteousness. Okay? Because even Satan, when he came to the Father, he could not touch Job until the Most High said, well, listen, you can do this, but you better not take his life. So there is some level of understanding between the Most High and Satan. Satan can't do what he want to do. Okay? He do what he's allowed to do. So they put out these certain things on these movies telling us where things are going. So that we can't say, well, we were tricked into this. They're going to be like, listen, you had free will and you chose to believe the lie. We told you what was going on and you decided to stay in your way. You understand? So now they can utilize you because you chose their side. See that? Finish reading.
Verse 20. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness.
From all these things, God's people, the Most High is tearing down all these other nations, and our people still won't come back to him. Read.
Nor be always mindful of the scourges. Verse 21. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth.
And they're going to have dollar stores. They're going to have pound stores. You can get everything's cheap. See, the Most High is allowing this to happen. It says, since you can go to the store and buy everything cheap, you're going to believe everything is fine. There's a sale here, there's a sale there. Things are going on as normal in your mind. Victuals shall be cheap in that day, read.
That they shall think themselves to be in good case.
And our people will think that everything is all right because you was able to get something cheap, or you was able to refinance and get your mortgage together. It's just all these other things that you're doing normal. You don't even see the earth crumbling right around you. Read.
And even then shall evils grow upon earth.
Go ahead.
Sword, famine, and great confusion.
And great confusion. And that's where we are now. Where some people are just have denied the Most High altogether because they don't know what to follow. That was part of Satan's plan too. Why did you think that in America, when those Satanists or Masons came together, that they allowed the freedom of religion? They wanted confusion of so many choices to be there for the population so that you didn't know, so you wouldn't find the correct path. It wasn't so that you can have the freedom to follow what you want to follow. It was to confuse the masses and make it so that when our people begin to wake up, the slaves, we would have all these choices and would never get back